Hey Joe, welcome back.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
What's going to be the plan early in the season for sustaining with Kristaps out? You know, some of the other guys in the mix there, opportunities they'll have, and Lonnie Walker coming in. What kind of impressions have you gotten of him so far and what he could potentially add to this group?
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan is to continue to create an environment understanding guys work to be healthy, rely on just our training staff and the work they put into that. And then when you think about Celtic basketball, we shouldn't miss a beat. So I think that's a strength of this team ever since I've been here is regardless of who's in, who's out, we feel like we have an opportunity to win. And it's just we all should be getting better. And we should have an understanding that whoever's in, we're competing to win. And we have a chance to win. And that's kind of the mindset.
Some of these guys work toward winning a championship for years. It might be a different challenge to do it again. How do you want to approach trying to repeat as champions? Yeah. How do you want to just approach
I think you got to be honest, right? Like at the end of the day, whether we won or lost, if we're standing up here at this point, the goal's to win. So, I mean, if we would have lost last year, our goal would be to win a championship this year. So I think just clearly stating we want to win a championship every single year. That's the goal, that's the standard, that's the expectation. So what happened in the past really doesn't change when we step foot in the building on this day. It's to win a championship. So that's always going to be the goal. And we just have to work towards that and have an understanding that there's a lot of things that go into it and there's a lot of things that we can't control about it. But there's never going to be a media day September 25th, October 1st where it's not like, hey, we're trying to win a championship. And that's the environment that we create, and that's the plan. That's the goal.
What do you see as some challenges that you could face trying to kind of recapture what you had last year and everything that goes into that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest challenge is, again, I know I've talked about this, is like expectations, having an expectation that it's going to go a certain way. Also thinking because we've done it one way, we just have to do it that way again, right? And I think that's a challenge heading into any season. There's obviously principles, non-negotiables, things that we have to recreate, that we have to do every single year, and then there's things that we got to adjust and find ways to be better. So I think the challenge comes into just coming into this season with the closed mindset. We have to have an open mind. We got to have an understanding of our environment's changed. And we have to change. And just because something worked before doesn't mean it's going to work again. And where do we have to be the same? And then where do we got to grow? Where do we got to change? And so I think that's the challenge.
Good morning, Joe. You went without to the Dominican Republic. Just curious as to how that trip went for you, and did you learn anything?
Yeah, it was great. I think, Jay asked the question about working for something towards your whole life. I think that's kind of what Al's approach is just his goal in life is to just sustain success on and off the court, and to be able for him to invite me back to his hometown and watch the impact that he has on the environment, but also the impact that people have on him. And it was just great to see that relationship, and it was great to share in that with his family and really the environment. So I was grateful that I got to go.
Joe, right over here. As the other teams try to tweak their rosters and their coaching staff to try to beat the Celtics, how are you looking at tweaking your own staff, your own roster, to try to make sure that you defend that title?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that's putting words in people's mouth. I would argue that they're not waking up saying, like, I have to hire this guy so that we could beat this particular team. I'm not quite sure that it goes to that level. I think at the end of the day, on this day or whenever people start the season, they're like, we got to maximize. We have to be our best. We're going after what greatness is, right? So I think having an understanding that environment's constantly changing, that we have to be a part of that change. There's certain things that we have to maintain, and there's certain things that we got to change. And that's kind of what we have to go into, is just not having a fixed mindset towards it, having an open mind. Just because something worked before doesn't mean it's going to work again. Where do we have to maintain our standard? Where do we have to grow? And I think just keeping that will allow us to continue to develop in this ever-changing environment, right? I think it's such a competitive environment that it's always changing. Even during the season, there's always times you go into a season thinking you're going to have this type of identity, and maybe your team shows you something different during it, and you kind of go to that, right? So it's just kind of having an understanding and being ready to adjust on the fly.
I do. This is Julian. This team historically has had a lot of continuity at the head coaching spot, whether it's Brad or Doc, now you going into your third year. When you look at that, just kind of like having an opportunity to get three of these, is there a sense of gratitude, one, that like, hey, like not many coaches get this opportunity. And two, what do you want to do with that journey as you look at each individual year? You know what
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, I would say there's 100 greatness. Like, you know, you don't know how long you're going to have this position, and there's only 30 of them. And the one that it's in my hometown and my home area, and for a team with this type of responsibility and tradition is the ultimate gift. And I'd say the biggest gift of this organization has been its alignment and its consistency. There's ultimate alignment from top to bottom. There's high-level communication from top to bottom, and there's a mental understanding of going after greatness. You know, even on the years that I've been here where we haven't won, our values, our demeanor, our decision-making, nothing's changed. And so we come into every season with the ultimate alignment, and I think that allows people to just do their jobs at a high level, and I think that's kind of what, you know, we're fighting to maintain.
Along those lines, kind of, I guess, 2 summers ago, you went to Costa Rica and really kind of found a new inspiration for the season going forward. What experiences did you have this summer to kind of reinvigorate and find some new inspiration leading into this new challenge?
Yeah, I think just kind of studying what goes into winning and what goes into losing. So many times people are focused on trying to win. I think it's just as important as keeping yourself from losing. And as hard as it is to win, it's very easy to lose. And just maintaining that balance. It's not always about winning. It's about making sure you have an understanding what losing looks like and how easy it is to fall into particular habits that can lead to losing at some point. And so it's having a balanced approach towards success and failure and having an understanding of kind of, you got to be able to do, you know, you have to understand both sides of that. Winning is just as dangerous as losing and vice versa.
Joe, you guys are in a very unique position where a lot of championship teams lose a piece in the rotation, whether it's free agency or a trade or something, and you guys were fortunate enough to bring everybody back. Last year, obviously, you achieved the ultimate goal, but at the beginning of the year, there were a lot of new pieces. This year, going into it, you're going to be almost identical. What advantages do you think that's going to give you heading into this second season with the same
Yeah, I
group?
mean, I think they're both advantages and disadvantages. There could be an advantage to having a new team. It could be an advantage to having the same team. It's more about just leveraging those opportunities that you have. And I think throughout the season, the environment will tell us what we need to adjust to and where we need to maintain the same. But I think, you know, there's pros and cons to both. If I had to choose one, I'd choose the one that we have, where we have consistency, where we have the character and the talent that we have. And at the end of the day, you know, who you are as a team and the way you play is a reflection of the kind of the character and the talent of the guys. And that's kind of what we're doubling down on because of who they are and how much they compete and how good they are. So, but there will be times for us to adjust on the fly. We just got to be ready, and there's always internal driving forces that lead to change. And so we just got to be ready for what those are and accept those.
Joe, today's about moving forward and looking forward. If you can look back for a second, can you talk about how much you enjoyed this offseason, starting with the parade?
I mean, I wouldn't say I enjoyed the offseason. I enjoyed the parade. I thought the parade was a rather intense experience, which I loved, and it was a great opportunity to connect with the city. And our number one goal, one of my goals in being the head coach, is making sure we maintain the consistent mindset and the consistent connection to the city of Boston, the chip on their shoulder, the toughness, the expectation to winning. So I thought the parade was kind of a culmination of that connection and making sure that we work on that throughout. And that's it.
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Not winning it over the years brought a new challenge, and you've overcome that challenge. How motivated or how much are you just pushed by doing it again? Because it's a new challenge. It's something you've never done before, and you're a guy who likes to do things you've never done before. Like, how much did that motivate you or get you going this summer that this is something new, like to try to repeat?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's just about perspective, right? Like, it's about, I think every year you head into this, you're always going to be like, all right, like, what can we go after, you know? But I think it tests you. I think being in a situation like this tests why do you do what you do, because you can't only do it for the good times. And, you know, since I've been in the league, we haven't done it. And I've found the same motivation the years that we didn't win as I did this past summer. And so I think when you go through an experience like last year, it really just tests your internal motivation. And if you're going to be extrinsically motivated, that's going to die out. And, you know, you'll kind of be exposed for your external motivation relatively quick, whether that's 1 year or 2 years. But I think going through successes and failures kind of test your internal intrinsic motivation as to, like, what you're really going after. You know, and so I think when you go through an experience like that, you have to test that. And so that's kind of the test, right, is how long does this last? 5 years, 6 years? You have no idea. But I think you start every season because it's a challenge of, like, okay, we got to do this. this again. And like I said to start the press conference, regardless of what happens in the past, every year I'm on here, the goal is going to be to win. That's just the goal. And we have to work on the process towards that each and every year, redeveloping new identities and keeping the things that work the same, you know?
Did I hear you right that you said you didn't enjoy the offseason?
I mean, I enjoyed some parts of it. I think attachment was something that you have to be aware of, right? Like I think when you one of the challenges of this offseason was detaching from the past and having an understanding of if you're attached to a success or a failure for too long, that can be really dangerous. And the world tries to keep you attached to the past, and the world tries to keep you attached to your latest success or your latest failure, and that's where people get stuck, where they're in, is attachment. And so it was a balance of we can't be attached to this past success. It would be the same as being attached to a past failure. So how can we detach from that with the understanding of taking the things, the DNA of the things that we need to do to try to go after greatness again? And so it's just a battle of, you know, detachment versus attachment. And, you know, I think that's kind of what we're going to have to be working towards throughout the year.
And just in general, obviously you just talked about how you're trying to focus on what's ahead. Does it feel any different sitting here today than it did a year ago because of what you guys achieved last year and the fact you did achieve
Quite honestly,
that goal?
zero. Feels zero difference. And I think if you're ever lucky to do again, when it does feel different, that's when I'd rather not do it anymore.
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
How has your relationship with Brad developed over these 2 years to where it is now? And then what impresses you most about what Brad has, quote unquote, built here before and now?
Yeah, I mean, I think to sum up our relationship, it's alignment. I think it's a unique one because very few coaches in the league step into the role that he's in now, and then very few people who have worked for that coach now work, you know, for him in that role. And so it's a much unique role because we've had 2 years to learn each other. We've had 2 years of working together and have an understanding of how each person communicates, how each person thinks. I think we're very, we have a shared mental approach towards what success looks like, and we just have different communication styles in it. But there's ultimate alignment as far as what Celtic basketball looks like and what building a culture and an organization look like. And so when you have that alignment, it makes things, it makes, you know, the daily approach good, and it makes decision making, you know, relatively simple.
Stepping back and looking at what impresses you most about what he's done here?
I mean, I would say just his consistency. I think, you know, if you look at him, the same things that made him a great coach make him a great GM. His ability to eliminate emotion, make great decisions based on logic, build relationships with people, and communicate to have alignment.
Thank you.
Thank you.